Brian Rolapp walked into the PGA Tour with a strict corporate mandate. His new rules immediately clashed with the players. Rory McIlroy saw the problem right away. The proposed schedule changes ignored basic physical limits and ruined the traditional season flow. McIlroy spoke out in public, calling the plans deeply flawed and unfair. Fans expected a massive player revolt to stop the CEO. That revolt never happened. Instead, the board quietly pushed the new policies forward. Most observers assumed the players simply gave up. They believed the era of player power was officially over. Rory kept fighting, yet his public complaints achieved absolutely nothing. Tour officials just ignored his warnings, or so everyone thought. Behind closed doors, a completely different strategy was forming. This real battle was not happening in loud press conferences. It was happening in a highly restricted committee room. Every decision about the season was being decided in total silence. I think Tiger is playing a much deeper game than anyone realizes. Do you agree, or is he just staying quiet? Let me know below and subscribe for real golf news. Ignoring the cameras, a legendary figure was quietly pulling the strings behind the scenes. This legend was not acting as a loyal board member for the new CEO. He had his own agenda. The official schedule changes looked completely final to the public. Then one specific committee vote changed everything. What happened in that room proved the public narrative was completely wrong. Rory thought he was fighting the executive alone, yet he had no idea who was actually sitting in the room with him. That official story hid a much darker reality. Brian Rolapp did not just want minor tweaks. The new boss wanted total control over the calendar. His first major move was a strict 15-event minimum. This rule sounds simple on paper. It actually destroys an athlete's physical health. Golf is not a sport you can play every single week without breaking down. Forcing top stars to commit to 15 tournaments ignores basic human limits. The tour claimed this was about giving fans more of the best players. In reality, it was just about squeezing every drop of value out of them before they retired. Players have to travel across the world. They have to deal with time zone changes. They need time to practice their short game. They need days to rest their backs and their wrists. The new rule took all of that away. It turned a skilled sport into a mechanical grind. Think about the sheer physical demand of modern golf. Hitting long drives requires immense core strength. Walking 18 holes in the heat drains the legs. Doing this for 15 separate weeks with no break is impossible. The human body simply cannot recover that fast. Past champions know that forced play leads to torn ligaments. The new boss ignored all of those medical warnings. He only looked at the television contracts. He only cared about the broadcast windows. The players were just assets to him. They were gears in a massive money-making machine. This cold reality is what pushed the veterans to the edge. They realized their health was not a priority. Their bodies were just expendable resources in the eyes of the front office. Rolapp believed these strict policies would save the tour, completely ignoring the physical limits of the athletes. Rory McIlroy saw the disaster immediately. The new Challenger Series was supposed to help mid-tier guys. McIlroy publicly called it a glorified minor league. It did not help anyone. It just created a confusing second tier of events that diluted the main product. Then came the schedule clustering. The executive planned to bunch all the big signature events right next to the major championships. This ruins the entire flow of the season. Players need time to rest and prepare for the biggest weeks in golf. Bunching them together guarantees burnout and terrible golf. Imagine playing 4 weeks in a row with no travel days. Courses get too dry, fans get bored. The final product gets worse. The veterans knew this would lead to massive injuries. Tour officials simply ignored these warnings. They treated the roster like numbers on a spreadsheet. Mid-tier guys started panicking about losing their spots. Top stars grew angry about the ridiculous calendar. Everyone felt completely trapped. Official advisory councils tried to push back. The new boss just smiled and pushed his agenda through anyway. It looked like a total corporate takeover. Athletes had absolutely no leverage left, or so the executives believed. McIlroy kept talking to the media. He kept warning everyone about the damage. Words do not change corporate policies. Only votes change policies. And the roster lacked the votes to stop it. An insider was required. A director was needed who understood the boardroom just as well as the golf course. Ready to revolt, the locker room just needed someone with enough power to actually stop the CEO. That required director was already on the property. Brian Rolapp knew he needed a bridge to the players. He needed a face that the locker room respected. He needed someone who could sell these harsh new rules to the veterans. So, the CEO made his first major public move. He announced the creation of a brand new future competition committee. This 9-member group would supposedly review all the radical schedule changes. Rolapp needed a chair for this committee. He chose the one player who could silence any complaints. The announcement shocked the entire golf world. Tiger Woods was named the chair of the future competition committee. On the surface, it looked like a massive win for the tour. Tiger was a legendary figure. He understood the game better than anyone in the front office. Fans and players initially felt a wave of relief. They thought Tiger would protect their interests. They believed he would never let Rolapp ruin the sport. Relief turned into panic very quickly. The official press release contained a very specific detail. Tiger was not just joining the committee. He was given the power to set the agenda. He controlled what issues were discussed. He controlled the final recommendations. Rolapp smiled during the press conference. He looked like a man who had just won a massive corporate victory. The media praised the move. They called it a brilliant way to unite the tour. Inside the player lounge, the mood was completely different. Rory McIlroy watched the press conference in total silence. Hoping to secure a puppet, the new boss remained unaware he just handed the keys to his biggest rival. McIlroy knew exactly what this meant. Tiger was now officially part of the corporate structure. If Tiger approved the 15-event minimum, the players had zero chance of stopping it. If Tiger agreed to the schedule clustering, the season was ruined forever. The veterans started whispering in the hallways. They wondered if Tiger had made a private deal with Rolapp. They worried that the ultimate player advocate had finally sold out to the executives. The fear in the locker room was real. It felt like the final nail in the coffin for player power. The golf media completely bought into this fake narrative. Pundits praised the new leadership on television. They argued that Tiger needed to grow up and stop playing the rebel card. Fans online accused him of choosing corporate cash over player loyalty. Rory watched all of this from his hotel room. He saw the headlines and read the angry comments. He knew the public was being lied to. He just had to wait for the actual committee meetings to start. He had to trust that his old rival still had the fire to fight. Rolapp immediately went to work. He started leaking stories to the golf media. These stories painted a picture of total agreement. The reports claimed Tiger and the CEO were on the exact same page. They said Tiger fully supported the scarcity model. They said Tiger believed the Challenger Series was a great idea. The narrative was completely controlled. Rolapp was using Tiger's name to force the policies through. The executives felt completely untouchable. They thought the players were finally broken. Watching the CEO smile on camera, the player leader realized his side had just been completely outmaneuvered. The media printed every leaked story without question. They had no idea the real negotiations were happening in total secret. Leaks are only half the story. What the media did not see was the actual committee work. The public only saw the polished press releases. They did not see the closed-door meetings. They did not see the actual voting records. Rolapp assumed Tiger would just rubber stamp his documents. The CEO expected Tiger to nod, sign the papers, and walk away. That assumption was the biggest mistake of Rolapp's career. Tiger did not just read the proposals. He completely dismantled them. The first real committee meeting happened behind closed doors. Rolapp walked in with a thick binder of new rules. He expected a quick approval. He expected Tiger to lead the discussion in favor of the corporate plan. Instead, Tiger opened the binder and started pointing out every single flaw. He did not yell. He did not cause a scene. He just used pure logic. He showed how the 15-event minimum would lead to massive injuries. He proved that the schedule clustering would ruin the TV ratings. He used the CEO's own data against him. The room went completely silent. The other committee members looked at each other in shock. Tiger was not just rejecting the ideas, he was systematically destroying them. He presented alternative schedules. He showed how to protect the mid-tier guys without hurting the stars. He completely flipped the narrative. Rolapp tried to push back. He tried to use his authority as CEO to force the vote. Tiger controlled the agenda. Tiger simply refused to put Rolapp's original plan on the floor. The CEO was completely blocked by his own hand-picked chair. Seeing his perfect corporate plan fall apart in real time, the executive realized too late that the chairman was not there to agree. This was the exact moment the power dynamic changed forever. Rolapp could not just fire Tiger. The board had given Tiger full control over the committee process. If Rolapp removed him, it would look like a dictatorship. The players would finally have the proof they needed to revolt. So, the CEO had to play by the rules. and Tiger knew the rules better than anyone. He started using parliamentary procedure to his advantage. He demanded endless data reviews for every single proposal. He asked for independent medical reports on the 15-event rule. He asked for historical TV ratings on the schedule clustering. Every request was completely reasonable. Every request took weeks to fulfill. Tiger demanded independent biomechanical studies and detailed financial projections. Every single request was perfectly legal and completely within his rights as the committee chair. The corporate lawyers could not object. This bureaucratic maze completely paralyzed the executive team. Rolapp's staff had to work overtime just to gather the required documents. They had to hire outside consultants to answer the medical questions. The budget for the new schedule rollout skyrocketed. Month after month, the CEO had to tell the board of directors that the project was delayed. Tiger was bleeding the corporate strategy dry using nothing but paperwork. The corporate timeline was completely destroyed. Rolapp's plan to launch the new schedule in 6 months was now pushed back to the next year. The CEO was furious, yet he had no legal way to stop it. Tiger was just doing his job as committee chair. He was being incredibly thorough. He was protecting the players by demanding proper research. It was a masterclass in corporate bureaucracy. Tiger was using the system to defeat the system. The best part was that he was doing it all in complete silence. There were no press leaks. There were no angry tweets. There was just a quiet, methodical dismantling of the CEO's agenda. It feels like a trap, yet I think Tiger is actually setting one. What is your read on Tiger's real motive here? Drop a comment and hit subscribe for more deep dives. Desperate for a change, the executive finally picked up the phone, completely unaware that McIlroy was no longer the one holding the power. Rolapp realized he could not win this fight in the committee room. He needed a new strategy. He needed to bypass the board. He needed to make a direct deal with the player leader. He needed to call Rory McIlroy. This was the moment the entire tour had been waiting for. The CEO, who ignored the players for months, was now begging for a meeting. The phone call lasted for over an hour. It was not a polite chat. It was a hard negotiation. Rolapp started by explaining his corporate vision. He talked about the scarcity model. He talked about the need to protect the tour's future. Rory just listened. Then, Rory dropped the reality check. He told the CEO that his plan was dead. He explained that the committee was never going to approve the 15-event minimum. He explained that the schedule clustering was completely unacceptable. Rolapp tried to argue. He said the committee was just delaying the inevitable. Rory simply smiled and told him to check the voting records. The votes were already locked. The committee was never going to budge. Rolapp finally understood the trap. Tiger was not just blocking the rules. Tiger was giving Rory the ultimate leverage. Rory was no longer just a vocal critic. Rory was the guy who held the keys to the entire schedule. The CEO had to negotiate with Rory, or the tour would have no schedule at all. Ending with a new agreement, the call still delivered a massive shock regarding the future of the entire tour. The fallout from that phone call was immediate. Rolapp agreed to drop the strict 15-event minimum. He agreed to spread the signature events out across the season. He agreed to completely rework the Challenger Series so it actually helped the mid-tier guys. The corporate scarcity model was officially dead. The players had won a massive victory. They did not have to go on strike to get it. They did not have to threaten a boycott. They just had to let Tiger do his job. The locker room reaction was pure joy. The veterans were thrilled. The mid-tier guys were relieved. Rory McIlroy was suddenly the hero who forced the CEO to the table. The real hero was the guy who never said a word. Tiger Woods had quietly backed Rory the entire time. He used his position to validate Rory's complaints. He turned Rory's public warnings into official committee rejections. He gave Rory the structural power to force the CEO to negotiate. It was a brilliant, silent partnership. Tiger did not need to be the face of the rebellion. He let Rory take the credit. Tiger just needed to get the job done. This is why Tiger is the ultimate authority in golf. He does not care about the media narrative. He does not care about looking like the good guy. He just cares about protecting the game he loves. He just proved that he is willing to use every tool at his disposal to do it. Officially dead, the corporate takeover still left the players knowing they had to stay vigilant for the next fight. The new 2028 roadmap looks completely different from the one Rolapp originally proposed. The schedule is logical again. The players have time to rest. The fans get a better product on Sundays. The mid-tier guys have a clear path to the top without being crushed by a confusing second tier. The PGA Tour is shifting back to a player-led ecosystem. The corporate dictatorship has been replaced by a functional democracy. It all happened because one legendary player decided to quietly back up the guy who was trying to save the sport. Tiger Woods showed everyone how real power works in professional golf. It is not about yelling at the media. It is not about fighting in the locker room. It is about understanding the rules better than the people who wrote them. It is about sitting in the room and controlling the agenda. Tiger did exactly that. He took a job that was supposed to be a rubber stamp, and he turned it into a weapon. He protected Rory. He protected the veterans. He protected the future of the game. He did it all without giving a single press conference. The golf world is finally waking up to what happened. The fans are realizing that the tour was never saved by a corporate savior. It was saved by the players who refused to give up. Rory kept fighting in public. Tiger kept fighting in private. Together, they completely changed the direction of professional golf. Never needing to fire a single shot at the CEO, the legends simply used the rulebook to quietly destroy the new schedule. This story is a massive lesson for everyone in the sports world. You cannot just walk in and change the rules without respecting the athletes. Brian Rolapp tried to treat the PGA Tour like a normal tech company. He tried to optimize the product for maximum profit. He forgot that golf is played by human beings. He forgot that the players are the actual product. When you push the athletes too hard, they push back. When you try to bypass their leaders, you end up fighting the greatest player in the history of the game. Rolapp learned that lesson the hard way. He spent millions of dollars on corporate consultants. He hired the best media executives. He created the perfect presentation. It all fell apart in a single committee meeting. It fell apart because Tiger Woods cared more about the game than the money. Tiger understood that if you ruin the schedule, you ruin the sport. If you ruin the sport, the money goes away anyway. He used that logic to defeat the CEO. He backed up Rory's vision. He proved that player power is still alive and well in the PGA Tour. The fans can finally breathe a sigh of relief. The Sunday broadcasts are going to be great. The majors are going to have proper preparation time. The game is safe. Finally getting their schedule back, the veterans still watched as the mid-tier guys waited to see if the promises were real. The true test of this new agreement will happen over the next few years. The 2028 roadmap is just a plan on paper. The real test is how the tour executes it. The players will be watching every single move. Rory McIlroy will be watching every single move. Tiger Woods will be watching from the committee room. If Rolapp tries to sneak in any new corporate mandates, the committee will block it again. The players now know how to use the system. They know how to fight back. They have a leader in Rory who is not afraid to speak the truth. They have a chairman in Tiger who is not afraid to use his power. The balance of power has permanently shifted. The executives can no longer rule by fear. They have to rule by consensus. They have to sit down with the players and actually listen to their concerns. This is a massive win for the sport. Golf is better when the players are happy. Golf is better when the schedule makes sense. Golf is better when the schedule makes sense. Tiger Woods ensured that all of those things will happen. He quietly backed Rory McIlroy. He defeated Brian Rolapp. He saved the PGA Tour from a massive corporate mistake. The fans should be incredibly grateful. The players should be incredibly grateful. Brian Rolapp should never underestimate the power of a quiet legend again. Looking perfect on paper, the 2028 roadmap still faced a true test the moment the first tee ball was struck. Looking ahead, the landscape of professional golf is permanently altered. The era of the unchecked corporate executive is over. The players have realized that their unity is their greatest weapon. Rory McIlroy learned that public complaints are only the first step. Real change happens when you have structural leverage. Tiger Woods provided that leverage. He showed that experience and boardroom knowledge are just as important as a low handicap. The mid-tier players now understand that they need to support the top guys, because the top guys are fighting for the entire ecosystem. The Challenger Series will actually become a stepping stone, not a trap. The 15-event minimum will remain a suggestion, not a punishment. The schedule will flow naturally from the Spring Masters to the Summer Majors, and finally to the Fall Finale. This is the golf that fans want to watch. This is the golf that players want to play. The silent partnership between Tiger and Rory proved that the soul of the game is still intact. They navigated a massive corporate threat without losing a single tournament. They protected the integrity of the sport. And they did it all while the media was busy printing leaked stories about a fake agreement. The truth was always in the committee room. The truth was always in the voting records. Now, the whole world knows the truth. Tiger Woods quietly backed Rory McIlroy, and together, they saved the PGA Tour. Future CEOs will study this exact moment in business schools. They will learn how a legendary athlete used institutional rules to defeat a massive corporate takeover. The players hold the ultimate power because they are the ones actually playing the game. Tiger proved that if you understand the bylaws, you can control the entire board. He did not need to yell or threaten a strike. He just needed to read the fine print. This quiet mastery is what separates good players from all-time greats. He applied that same intense focus to the boardroom that he used on the putting green. What do you think about Tiger's silent strategy? Do you prefer leaders who fight in public or leaders who win in the boardroom? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and make sure you subscribe so you never miss a deep dive into the real stories of golf.